We started this last week. We called it Common Sense Economics. It's really about diligence and laziness, the comparison of someone who is diligent and the lazy man. We got through a bunch of proverbs about the diligent person, but we're about to get into the lazy person. Real quick, here's what the principles that we're going to notice as we're going through these proverbs. Hard work is a requirement for good living. If you want a good life, you got to work for it, period. You have to work for it. There's no lazy way out. The diligent rise to the top, while the lazy sink to the bottom. Our proverb, our saying is the cream rises to the top, and you scrape it off and it's weird metaphor, but never mind. It's good when you're talking about cream. The one who works hard will have what he wants, because the diligent person plans, thinks about what their goals are, and then sets up their life in order to achieve those goals. A diligent person does that. A lazy person does not do that. And so the lazy person will have a lot of want in one hand. Maybe that's not appropriate. Let's see. How about this? I'll just change the metaphor. So if you have want in one hand and trash in the other, which one's going to fill up faster? The trash, right? Nothing's going to happen until you use this hand to work for what you want. You got to work for it. The life of a lazy person has many painful obstacles. Laziness results in financial hardship. The Bible talks about poverty. Poverty for the lazy person. It comes upon you like a robber. Being careless, lazy, and irresponsible not only brings hardship into our lives, it also dishonors God. And the love of sleep/pleasure ends in the same destination. Again, poverty. We're going to pick up, again, benefits of diligence. Proverbs 16, we're going to recap a little bit back in 2 Thessalonians 3:16. But we're going to start here in Proverbs 16:26. So he that laboreth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. So that first labor is to labor with weariness, exhaustion, has the idea of suffering, distress, and miserable work. So he that does that kind of work, laboreth, the second one, puts forth considerable energy and effort for himself. Why? Because hunger drives him. Hunger impels him to work hard. Hunger is a strong motivator to endure toil. And so the principle that I glean from this is if you have a strong why, if you have a strong purpose, you'll be able to endure toilsome work. Like the same, I'm doing the same thing every single day, and it doesn't seem like it amounts to anything. It's toilsome, wearisome. Why do I do this? Because it provides for my family. Like if you have a strong purpose, like if my girls get to eat, that's a strong purpose. That's a strong why. You need that in order to endure. To quote Anders in his commentary, we work most diligently when work is necessary to supply our needs. And this is the reason spoiled brats are that way. All their needs and wants are met, and they begin to believe that they are entitled to that treatment. You're not entitled to anything. Did you come into the world with anything? Are you going to leave the world with anything? No. What are you entitled to? You got to work. Here's 2 Thessalonians 3:6-12. Now we command you, brethren, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you withdraw yourselves from every brother that walketh disorderly, and not after the tradition which ye received of us. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us. For we behave not ourselves disorderly among you. So Paul is talking to the church in Thessalonica, and he's reminding them of how he behaved when he was building that church, when he was preaching the gospel and people were coming and they were gathering together and worshiping. He was gathering people together as a church. And what he was doing is saying, There are people among you who are walking disorderly. We didn't do that. Follow our example. What does this disorderliness look like? Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught. We didn't take other people's bread. We didn't demand other people's bread for all the work that we were doing among you, spiritual work. But wrought with labor and travail, that's suffering, travail, hard labor, night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you. Not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us. So basically what he's saying is, he went there, he set up shop, he's probably making tents, and he would make tents all day, and then he would preach all night and build up the people. And he would provide for himself, and he would not demand any food from any of the people that were going to that church, even though he had the right to it. Not because we have not power, not because we don't have the right to demand that of you. We're working really hard to build you up spiritually. We ought to be paid for it. But he didn't reject isn't the right word. He doesn't exercise his right. He doesn't demand his right, which is his right, but he doesn't exercise it. He withholds his right to be an example. So apparently, laziness was a problem in this area. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if anyone would not work, neither should he eat. You've probably heard this before, right? Yeah, if they're not going to work, they shouldn't eat. Like, okay, that was a command that Paul gave. And what is he getting at? He's getting at entitlement and enabling. That's what he's getting at. Don't enable a lazy person. That's all. That's all the teaching is. Don't enable a lazy person. Because it says, if any would not work, that means they're not willing to do work. That person is able, but they're not willing. Don't enable their laziness. If someone is unable to work, right, physically, or not able to work, you provide for that person. You take care of the poor, the weak, the needy. That's what the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ does, correct? Yeah, that's what we should be doing. But if someone is able-bodied and not willing to work, don't help that person. Don't enable that person to remain lazy. That's a command. This we commanded you, that if it would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly. So this disorderliness, this is what he's talking about. Someone who is able to work but not willing, and is therefore not working. Working not at all, but are busybodies. So they're not busy about working, but they're busybodies among the people. Spreading gossip. Oh, did you? Oh, I'm going to spill the tea. Do all that stuff. Now them that are such, we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. That's what you ought to do. You ought to provide for yourself by working hard. Be diligent in your work. Proverbs 21:25-26. Desire the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. He that coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not. So the desire of the lazy person causes him to do things that are self-destructive, i.e., refusing to work, which leads to starving to death. Remember, this is an agrarian society where if you don't plant, you don't eat. You have to be prepared. You have to. Otherwise, you don't have bread. It's that simple. So a lazy person will starve to death, or they're going to mooch off of other people. Now, let's say there's a farmer and he's fixing something on his roof and he falls off his roof and he breaks his leg, and now he can't plant his field. What's the community supposed to do for that person? Plant for him. That means more work for me. It does, but everybody gets to eat. That's not what it's talking about. The slothful person kills himself. How? It's a self-destructive life because he refuses to work. Contrast is between the covetous, lazy person and the diligent, who gives generously. The righteous gives and does not worry about coming into want, whereas the lazy person is consumed with the desire for more and is never satisfied. Quickly, Proverbs 28:19. He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. So again, prosperity depends upon diligent work, not chasing empty promises and daydreams, and beware who influences you. Beware of your friends. Beware of the people who are influencing you away from being diligent about your work. You want friends that will encourage you to work hard and then take rest. We'll get to the rest part when we talk about loving sleep. But yes, beware of who influences you. This is the portrait of the lazy man. So these are specifically about the lazy person. There's only 2 of them, but they're pretty evocative. Proverbs 10:26. As vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. Like, you ever been at a campfire and everywhere you move your chair, the smoke blows right into your face? Does that only happen to me? Come on, I need to see some nodding heads, right? Oh, great. It's so annoying, right? It's very annoying. So the lazy person is just like that, the smoke blowing right into your eyes. The lazy person is unreliable, doesn't put in the effort into their work, and therefore is an aggravation. You ever worked with anybody like that? They can do a lot of talking, but not a lot of working. Have you ever been that person? Hey, yeah, if you've never worked around that person, you're the person. All right. And it's like, why is everybody so uptight all the time? It might be you. You know, if every time you go into a restaurant, you get bad service, every time, it's probably you. Like, come on. The Net Bible note has this to say: since the 2 similes are used to portray the aggravation in sending a lazy person to accomplish a task. Vinegar to the teeth is unpleasant and an irritating experience, and smoke to the eyes is an unpleasant experience that hinders progress. That's what a lazy person is like, just an aggravation. Proverbs 12:27. Slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting. How could he? Lazy person wouldn't go hunting, right? But that's not the Bible commentary. But the substance of the diligent man is precious. So the lazy person lacks follow through. The lazy person lacks follow through. They get to a point and then they just let it go. They drop the ball. They don't complete the projects that they start. Diligence, remember, is a persistent kind of work. It endures for a long time, being diligent. The lazy person lacks the follow through. Assuming the lazy man got an animal in a hunt, he's too lazy to cook the meal and enjoy it. Have you ever done that? Like, no, it costs way too much to go up north and shoot a caribou, and like, why would I ever waste that? What are you, a fool? Maybe. Have you ever gone to the grocery store? You bought all the ingredients for all the meals, and you're like, I don't really feel like cooking, so then you order out. And then you're like, oh man, it's really late. It would take another half an hour to cook this meal, so I'll just order out again. And then pretty soon your ingredients go bad. I'm not the only one, right? That's totally happened to me. The slothful man roasteth not which he took in hunting, but the diligent appreciates what they have. Diligent appreciates what they have. Don't let your food spoil. Proverbs 18:9. Oh, yes. He that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. This is pretty straightforward, right? Slothful, this word, and in the Hebrew it's has the nuance of to sink, to relax, to let drop. And what you're letting drop is your hands. And your hands are a metonymy representing your whole body, which is to go to work. So what you work with your hands to produce something. And so when you let them drop, slothful, that's what that means. You cease to work, right? Someone who ceases to or slothful in his work is a brother to him that is a great waster. This means a destroyer, right? The slacker and the destroyer are closely related. The one who is careless or sloppy in his work makes a substandard product, wastes time and money and materials. Don't be slothful. Work. It'll come back to bite you. People will notice. Oh, we're usually at a certain standard and things have gone down. Proverbs 26:14. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. So notice the door is fixed to a wall. It doesn't move except on its hinges. Just like a slothful person. Doesn't get out of bed. Rolls over again. Oh, this isn't as comfortable. Roll over again. You know, it's hard to, you can't sleep on it. You gotta do this. Like, oh, I'm trying to snuggle, but arms in the way. You either got to be here or here. It's really weird. Big spoon. And a big spoon. I mean, you got that. The door swings on its hinges, but it never goes anywhere. Likewise, the lazy person is hinged to his bed and never gets up and gets moving. This is the attitude of hitting snooze. Right? You hit snooze again. But I set 3 alarms. Did you train yourself to hit snooze on every one of them? Well, that's not what I intended. But over the last 2 months, every time your alarm went off, did you hit snooze? Guess what? You've trained yourself to hit snooze every time the alarm goes off. Are you going to get out of bed? No, you've trained yourself to hit snooze. You're going to stay in bed. Well, what do you expect? You're going to do what your training tells you to do. Same with a slothful person. Hitting snooze. All right, the danger of loving sleep. This one's tough. I don't know if this one will hit you in the heart, but it just... So, this is from Anders' commentary. The danger of loving sleep. The Bible presents sleep as a welcome respite from labor. Like, sleep has a purpose. You're to rest, to recover, in order to do more work. But when a person sprawls in bed, wasting the morning rather than starting a good day of useful activity, sleep becomes a danger. Sleep is good, but loving it is wrong. Sleep is good, but loving it is wrong. That's a really good way to think about it. Proverbs 24:30-34. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding, and lo, all grown over with thorns and nettles that covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, little slumber, little folding of the hand. Well, so shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. So this is like the person that travels from town to town and takes advantage of people. How poverty shall come. Like that kind of person. So here we have a story and then a lesson. The story. The author went by a vineyard and observed a vineyard that had not been taken care of. So the owner did not tend to his vineyard. Weeds had choked out the crop, and the wall protecting it from wildlife was broken down. The owner of the vineyard lacked wisdom. Like, this is yours to take care of. You should take care of it. That owner didn't take care of it. And I saw it, and I considered it well. I looked upon it and received wisdom, received instruction. The lesson here is continued laziness leads to poverty. And this is like the common refrain in Proverbs. If you're lazy, it'll lead to poverty. But that's the lesson. You have, and remember, this is a great, we'll get to like a description of when they had to plant and harvest and all of that in verses. But if your life depends on planting and growing stuff, can't be lazy. Can't be. There's always something to be done. Maintain your garden or your vineyard. Proverbs 6:9-11. Actually, just take that vineyard and apply it to almost any area of your life. Make the vineyard a metaphor for your marriage. If you ignore your marriage and weeds grow up and the wall is broken in, the little foxes can get in there, destroy your vineyard. How's your marriage going to do? I mean, you can take that and make it a metaphor for pretty much any area of your life. If you're not diligent about the important things, but again, someone who's diligent sets up a hierarchy of value for their life, and they plan to take care of those things that are valuable to them. Lazy person doesn't value things in that way. Whatever they're feeling at the moment is what they value in the moment. That becomes the highest value. I want this thing. Well, if you ignore this area of your life, right? This is the balance of like work and family. You work outside the home. I could go do this and work hard, work. And then you start to ignore your family. Like, you're going to have family problems if you do that. Like, what actions, what plans are you making? Actions are you taking to make sure that your family knows that you love them? Plan that out. Take care of that vineyard. Like, metaphor. Yes, sir. Oh, man. He's supposed to, Adam being slothful in his diligence and taking care of his family. What? And then someone snuck in? And influenced his wife? What? Whoa. Man, the Bible just like holds together. Really good. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise from thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, so shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. Very similar to the previous one. The love of ease, rest, and sleep will result in poverty and want. This is the love of that. It's like in the New Testament where it isn't that money is the root of all evil. That's not true. The Bible doesn't teach that. The love of money is the root of all evil. People who love money will do really wicked things to get more money. Someone who loves sleep and ease and rest, that'll result in poverty and want. These are rhetorical questions, right? But it's a forceful way to rebuke someone. Questions are a great way to imply a rebuke, to imply a correction. Like, how long are you going to sleep? Well, not that long, right? And you start answering it in your head. It's a great way to imply a correction. Just a little nap. But by indulging too much sleep and ease, the lazy person comes to a ruined life. If you choose to nap when you should be working, poverty and ruin is your destiny. Proverbs 19:15. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. Slothfulness, this is laziness, a lack of discipline and initiative. A deep sleep is complete inactivity, a deep, like REM sleep, kind of stuff you wish you got. Have kids. Coming to you soon. It's great. It's great. It's all worth it in the end. An idle soul. I know. Joking. An idle soul is a person who relaxes when he should be working, and someone who is idle, they're gonna go hungry. Again, kind of tapping into that Second Thessalonians passage. Proverbs 24. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing. Lazy people can be irrational and full of excuses. It's too cold to plow, so I didn't. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you point outside of the. So that actually ties into the description of what their planting and harvesting look like. This is from Anders in his commentary on Proverbs. It says, the Israelite farmer generally raised several different crops on his acreage, which came ready for harvest at various times all the way through the dry summer months. Barley harvest took place in April or May, followed by the wheat harvest that could happen as late as July. Then figs, grapes, and other kinds of fruit became ripe in later summer. Like there's different, you have to plant at different times and you'll harvest at different times. Things take a little bit longer to grow. Different plants take different times to grow. Once the crop were harvested, the cycle would begin again. A farmer would plow his fields and prepare for planting during late September and early October. You have to do it at that time. Back to the quote. Then sow his seed by mid-November before winter made the ground hard. It would have been uncomfortably cold by the end of the planting season, but the onset of winter made it vital to finish the task if there was to be a harvest the next year. So you're just hoping, like you have to plant or you have to plow your field before the ground gets too hard to plow. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to plant. And then when things get really cold, it just takes time. And you have to do these things at this time. If you don't, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. There's two ways you can interpret that. First way is they have lazy excuses, right? Like, oh yeah, it's too cold. It's too cold outside. Can't plow. It's uncomfortable, right? It's an excuse. Or they waited way too long, and now they literally can't plow. The ground will not break up, and therefore they can't plant their seed, and now they're going to starve. Don't be a sluggard. Wow. First bell. Proverbs 20:13. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. Again, I know it's very repetitive, right? Because we're plucking these out of Proverbs and putting them all together. But diligence leads to prosperity. Opening your eyes is an idiom for being awake and working hard. Sleep and rest are not a bad thing, but loving sleep is a bad thing. It leads to poverty. Notice, love, not sleep. Farmer who's lazy and stays in bed will go hungry because he lacks the discipline to produce food. But the diligent will have plenty of food. He'll be satisfied with bread. Proverbs 21:17. He that loveth pleasure. Now we're kind of combining sleep and pleasure. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Love. This is the idea of needing, choosing, excessive, uncontrolled indulgence and pleasure. What it's getting at. So this is the lover of pleasure, the lover of good times, the lover of parties. Like, parties are great when they're punctuated in life. Your whole life should not be a party. Like, when the prodigal son came home, that was deserving of a party, at least in the father's mind. It was punctuated with a party. Was that party going to last forever? No. The party would end. We'd get back to work. Days would go on. Parties are a good thing, but not if you love them and want to have them all the time and make them last forever. This is like the failure to launch for young people, right? It's just like, gotta keep the party going, man. Don't ruin my vibe, man. I said vibe. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Oh, man. Wine and oil. These are luxuries, luxury items. And there's nothing wrong with wine and oil, but only when they take on too much importance in your life. That's when it's like the lover, he that loveth pleasure, right? Bible has no problem with pleasure, with luxury, with these legitimate commodities. Just the love of them, the pursuit of them to your own self-destruction. The Bible has a problem with that. This person will spend all his money on luxuries outside of his means and therefore will never grow wealth. He'll not be rich. So, again, the principles. Hard work is a requirement for good living. The diligent rise to the top while the lazy sink to the bottom. The one who works hard will have what he wants. The life of the lazy person has many painful obstacles, mostly self-induced. Laziness results in financial hardship. That means poverty. The Bible speaks of poverty all the time. It's in Proverbs. Being careless and lazy and irresponsible not only brings hardship into our lives, it also dishonors God. The love of sleep, pleasure, ends at the same destination, poverty. What about application? How do you expect to complete your life's checklist spending every night watching Netflix? That's an Andy Mineo line. That's an Andy Mineo line. It's really good. From Uptown. You know Uptown? We're having a moment. But think about it. If you have goals in life, that's the checklist. How do you expect to fulfill those goals? You spend all your time binge watching shows. It'll never happen. Remember, rest, pleasure, luxuries, they're a good thing when they're punctuated. There's sometimes I get home and I'm like, I just want to veg out. I don't want to do anything. Like, cool. As long as that's not every night, that's okay. There's a balance there. There's two guardrails you have to watch out for. There's the first guardrail of being lazy. That's one guardrail. You don't want to smash into that one. Don't be lazy. The other guardrail is work. The hustle culture. It's really dangerous. I gotta share this story. I know I shared it with you last week, but that's the second bell, so here we go. I used to work at a fitness center at the college campus that I went to, Austin Peay State University in Tennessee. Anyways, I worked at the fitness center. I worked the front desk, and there's a guy that walked in, and he had these headphones that were huge, and he had them turned outwards, and I could hear the music that he was playing, and it was this rap song. It's like, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, and he was just jamming. It's so good. He was walking in, he had to go through the turnstile, and I looked at him, I was like, every day? Really? And he was like, what? I was like, every day you're hustling? Every day? Really? Even God took a break. And he laughed. But you do know that's a command. Rest. So there's laziness and work. Both are sinful. Be in the middle. Avoid these two extremes. Laziness, procrastination, and the hustle culture. Work hard, apply yourself, put in effort, even at the things that are beneath your ability. This is the doorway to advancement. You want to advance where you're at? Do hard work. When it comes to work, don't just talk about it, be about it. Always remember, you are working for the Lord. Do your work well, and you will eventually get your reward from him. If you love others who depend on you, work hard for them. That's a strong reason why to work. Laziness and carelessness will hurt them as well. Here are some suggestions for productivity. Productivity is not about getting more things done. It's about making time for the things that matter in your life. So set priorities. Quality of your sleep, diet, and exercise will determine your energy levels. Guard them. These are just suggestions. Write down your top 3 priorities every day and see if you accomplish them at the end of the day. These are steps to be diligent. You don't know how. If it takes less than 2 minutes to do, just do it. It really doesn't take that long to empty the dishwasher. Not really. Just take care of it. Don't procrastinate. If rest increases your productivity, it's not a waste of time. This one's hard for me. Like, oh, I have to go do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And then I'm exhausted. It's like, now you're not going to do anything well. If it's not on your calendar, probably won't happen. If you fail to plan, you will plan to fail. Or you might as well plan to fail. The longer you put off a task, the harder it becomes. Just eat the frog, do it now. Sometimes that's what you need to do. If you do not plan your time, someone else will. Don't be a slave to that other person. Set goals. Review them regularly, weekly. Write them down. Check them out. Don't forget to apply what you've learned. Make work enjoyable with music. If you don't know where to start on a task, or it seems overwhelming, just work on it for 2 minutes. Half the battle is just starting. This is so true with cleaning your house. So true. It gets so much worse before it gets better. It's like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do it. Just do 2 minutes and that's it. And stop. Like, oh, but it looks worse. If you do 2 minutes tomorrow, it'll still look bad. And then 2 minutes the next day, it'll still looks bad. But by the end of the week, it might start looking better. And then by next week, oh, the house is actually looking kind of good. And by the end of the month, it's exactly where you want it to be. 2 minutes. That's it. Just 2 minutes. Oh my goodness. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you for your love. Thank you for your word. Help us to be diligent about our work and know that we're serving you as we work in this world. Help us to worship you right now. Help us to sing praises to your name. May we honor you with the preaching of your word. May the Holy Spirit drive it into our hearts. May we change our minds about what sin is and worship you more fully and closely. That was way over.